Hi everyone, and welcome to today's little chat. So I want to talk about eating for your cycle. So I did a talk just recently about it, and I've got really excited, I have to say, about this topic. And I thought I would just share a little bit of what I talked about just to get you thinking, because I'm probably going to spend a bit more time actually researching this because it's fascinating. So I've actually been looking about how we eat in our cycle, and how, because our energy and emotions change in our cycle, how changing the way we eat and cook can actually affect how we progress through our cycle, and whether that can actually mitigate some of the symptoms that you might get during your cycle. And I've looked at the traditional Chinese medicine way of looking at the energetics of food, and seasonal food, but instead of seasonal food over a year, seasonal food in our month. And I've also had a little bit of a look at the research, and there's more research out there that I need to be looking at. But there's been quite a bit of research on women athletes and how fitness and what they eat affects their cycle, and how that then affects their athletic performance. And there's not very much on how nutrition affects the cycle of ordinary women, which is what I'm really interested in. There has been research looking at how women's eating habits change in the cycle and why that might be. So I've kind of brought a little bit of that in too. So there's a little bit of research to it, and there's quite a bit of energetic looking at your cycle differently. So if you think of your cycle as four different sections. Now, medically, we look at the first, it's really kind of split into the menstruation, but you have what's called the follicular phase, when you're making kind of like pre-eggs in your ovaries. Then we ovulate. Then we have what's called the luteal phase, which is kind of after you ovulate, and the uterus lining starts to get thicker in preparation of a baby. And then when a baby doesn't happen, you menstruate. But we could look at the cycle slightly differently. So menstruation is really like the month, it's really like winter. It's a seasonal kind of cold period of your cycle. And then we go into what I would call pre-ovulation, then ovulation, and pre-menstruation. Now, from an energetic perspective, menstruation traditionally was all about going within. It was about reflection. It was a spiritual time. And in a lot of traditional societies, women were actually put into a special place where all menstruating women would be together, not because they were punished, but because it was an opportunity to really commune with the spiritual world. And then they would bring back those messages to their tribe or their community. And we kind of lost that, because now we just think menstruation's a pain in the neck. And then we move into pre-ovulation, and pre-ovulation, you can feel like your energy starts to kind of lift. And then you move into ovulation, which is like, whoa, lots of energy. So how we work, how we live, how we eat could change in that time, rather than the same thing through a whole cycle. And then pre-menstruation, this is usually the time when we start to see the symptoms. We start to get cramping, or we start to get really angry and irritated or weepy. And there's a reason for that, because that's also when we're probably closest to who we really are. So what I thought I'd do is just share some ideas about how to eat within those different periods of time in your cycle. So as I said, menstruation, think of that as the winter period. So it's cold. So this is a really good time to stock up on your vitamins and your minerals. Iron becomes really important because we're obviously bleeding. So eating iron-rich foods, which for a lot of people, this is the time when you'd be eating red meat. If you don't eat red meat, that's fine, because you could get iron from lots of other foods, green leafy veggies, as long as you've got vitamin C, capsicum, citrus, kiwi fruit alongside that. But this is the time when you want warming, grounding foods. So stews and soups and roasted, baked veggies, root veggies. This is the time. Substantial soups and broths. like really thick chowders and minestrone soup, because they're nourishing and they're grounding and they're warming. It's also a really important time to increase your healthy proteins and your healthy fats, because that helps to keep your mood and your energy stable. Protein is really important for hormone production and brain chemical production, such as like your serotonin and your dopamine. So I would also be looking at less grain and more kind of meat and vegetables. Animal protein, if you eat animal protein, healthy fats. Berries can be really good because they're low in sugar, and you want to make sure that your blood sugar is kept steady at this time. Berries are full of colors, they're full of antioxidants, full of vitamins and minerals and fiber. But it might be a time where this might be the period where you have some kind of porridge and you add some cooked berries to the porridge, or some yogurt. So kind of warming foods, that like warming, healthy comfort foods. This is the time for that. Having things like celery, seaweed, seafood. You want foods that are full of minerals, that are restorative to the kidney. So in traditional Chinese medicine, and food around this time is usually what they would consider restorative to the kidneys. So it might be a time where you have some kidney herbs as well, like dandelion leaf. So there's some really cool little herbal teas that you can get that are restorative to the kidney. So this is the time for that. And then fish oils, really important for their essential fatty acids. So this is the kind when you think of the food, this is the warming, grounding, comfort food that you would normally have in winter. You'd be having this during your period to kind of ground you and kind of keep you comfortable. So then we move into pre-ovulation, which is like spring. So this is the time when our energy starts to increase. Our hormones are starting to rise. So we need to look at food and have like fresher food, lighter foods. So again, this is a transition. It's not like at the end of the period, then you suddenly change to different food. You kind of work in TCM, it's kind of a transition. You eat seasonally, but you start to eat the seasonal foods for next season just at the end of the previous season. So it's a transition. So you'll start to bring more fresher, lighter foods in. It's a really good time to start having more vegetables. Really important to start having your phytoestrogen. I mean, all of this food we should have all the time. It's just about kind of tweaking it and like maybe raising it a little bit. So this is a good time to have plant estrogens. So soy, flaxseed, lentils, really good for then. Lots of veggies, lots of salads, fermented foods like kimchi and sauerkraut, probiotic foods, really important. Our gut is really important because there's something called the estrobolome, which is basically the link between our gut bacteria and estrogen production. So our gut bacteria could put estrogen back together again and recycle it if we need. So we want to make sure that our gut bacteria is balanced, so that then balances particularly estrogen, the way that estrogen is broken down and excreted or used in the body. Lean protein, so we want lighter protein. So things like your fish and your chicken, your beans and your pulses, sprouted seeds and beans, and again, grains like oats. Pre-ovulation is the best time to do intermittent fasting. So we have to be really careful with intermittent fasting because it doesn't always suit women. So if you eat within a time frame, or if you do intermittent fasting, pre-ovulation is the better time to do it. I wouldn't be doing it necessarily during menstruation because really you want more calories, and so I would kind of hold that. So that would be spring. So think of spring type foods and have that in the period between when you stop bleeding and when you ovulate. So ovulation is summer. It's our hot period. Moods tend to be stable. Estrogen and progesterone are usually, they're starting to kind of peak. Our temperature rises around ovulation because of progesterone rising. So really, this is the time for raw foods, for cool foods. So this is the time to have your juices and your smoothies and your salads. It might be the time where you steam or poach foods more than roasting foods. Lots of green leafy veggies, much lighter food. So this is again the kind of foods you'd have in summer, but obviously you fit in with the seasons of the year. Really important time to support the liver, so that the liver can kind of break down and help to remove anything that we no longer need, such as estrogen. So again, lots of lean proteins, really important for the liver health. Maybe lighter grains like corn and quinoa, lots of fruit and veggies, so we're getting the minerals and the antioxidants we need. Turmeric, start putting turmeric and spices in your foods. Herbal teas that support the liver can be really good at this time as well. Really important to make sure you're getting enough fiber, because fiber again is also really important for gut health and therefore how hormones are broken down. I've actually done a blog and a video specifically on the link between estrogen and particularly testosterone as well, the link between the gut and hormone balance. So go and have a look at that if you're interested. So fiber, your prebiotic foods, your fermented foods, really important in summer. And then again, those phytoestrogens to help modulate estrogen balance. So that's your flax seeds and lentils and soy as well. Having some tofu and some tempeh and miso would be a really good time to be having those foods during ovulation. And then we get to pre-menstruation, which is autumn. So this is a really interesting time. So the researchers have looked at women and found that actually this is the time when appetite increases, and that is because progesterone rises, and progesterone actually increases our appetite. Estrogen tends to kind of decrease it. Our metabolism increases, so the way that we break down food and turn that into energy for the body, that actually goes up, which means we get more hungry and we need more calories, and we're more likely to experience cravings. So rather than seeing cravings as something bad, this is the time to have a look and think, well, what is it I'm craving for? Am I craving because my body actually needs more energy, needs more calories because of what's happening with my hormones? Am I craving salty foods or sweet food or chocolate? Is that because I need more minerals? Is it because I need glucose, which is what's going to give me energy? So rather than having a muffin, maybe this is the time to have some fruit. Your moods can swing and dip as well. And so we need to look at foods that we know can help, again, with the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin and progesterone. So this is the time to eat more nutrient-dense and calorie-dense foods. So again, more likely to be kind of meats or animal products, things like eggs. You want foods that are rich in iron and zinc. Fish oils, fish, olive oil, avocado, those fats are really, really important at this time as well. This is the time where you want to increase foods that are rich in B vitamins, because they actually help. They're really important for energy. They're really important for digestion. They're required for our neurotransmitters to be happy brain chemicals to be made, and also progesterone. So this is the time to eat lots of salmon. Again, those leafy greens, liver and organ meats. If you don't mind liver and organ meats, this is the time to have some liver and some kidney, which are really good for us and packed full of vitamin Bs and minerals. This is time for eggs, beef and pork, seafood. Again, legumes, those beans and pulses. This is the time to really up the amount of beans and pulses that you eat. This is a really good time to be eating more grains than any other time in your cycle. Add some nutritional yeast to get lots. So all the bees are in nutritional yeast. You can use it instead of cheese. You can sprinkle it on anything where you would normally use cheese. You can make a nutritional yeast sauce, which is like a pseudo cheese sauce. And get nutritional yeast in your diet. It's really yum, and it's packed full of the B vitamins. Or you can have something like Marmite or Bovril. This is the time to have it. You want to stabilize your blood sugar because that will help with your energy and it will help with your mood. So this is when you really are going to be adding those complex carbohydrates. So your kumara, your brown rice and your millet, those kind of good grains. Don't be frightened to snack. If you feel that this is, start tracking your cycle and see where the patterns are. And if this is the time where you want to snack, don't be frightened of that. That might actually be your body saying you're not getting enough nutrients here. I'm hungry. So do snack, but just be really mindful about what you snack. So this is the time for the veggie sticks and hummus, or celery and peanut butter. So you're getting the salt from the celery and the salt from the peanut butter, but you're also getting some fat and protein to stabilize the blood sugar. Dates are really, really good if you're kind of craving something sweet. And then you can cut those open and put some peanut butter inside that. And again, you're then getting some fat, or almond butter or walnut butter. You're getting some fat and you're getting some protein. And that again will help. So you get the sweetness, but you get all of the other things too. So most of the cravings that we have are because of minerals or electrolytes or glucose. So be really conscious. Am I craving because what I want is a hug or a reward, or am I actually hungry for something? And the chances are, if you're just between ovulation and your period, it might be that you're craving nutrients, because this is the time when your body really does start to need those extra nutrients. Calcium and magnesium are really important this time. So that's your green leafy veggies, things like broccoli, bok choy, dairy, soy, again, really important. Chocolate is full of magnesium as well. So, this is the time to enjoy a little bit of chocolate. Not a whole bar, but a little bit of chocolate is really cool. You can have that every day, but this is the time for maybe just a little bit more. As I said, protein, really, really important, because that's important for serotonin and dopamine production, and for our liver to work and function really well. So legumes, really good time for legumes. So chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, azuki beans. This is the time to have those. And your grains, good quality meat, nuts and seeds, really, really important as well. So this is the time when you'd be having your sesame seeds and your sunflower seeds, really important at this time as well, because you're going to get your zinc and you're going to get all of the other nutrients from your nuts and seeds. Good time as well to drink cacao, cocoa, maca, mushroom. Have those drinks now, because you're just about to move into that special spiritual time of menstruation. And that, again, is also a lovely time to be drinking cacao and cocoa too. Think about autumnal type fruits, your pears and your apples, maybe having some stewed fruits, because you're starting to move into that grounding, warming foods. So have some stewed fruits, some healthy crumble would be a really good food to have at this time as well. So I hope that's been useful. There's no links to any research. There is a little bit of research. There's more research that I need to do, because I think this is a fascinating subject. So I'd love to know what you think about this. Give me any feedback. There's going to be more information coming, because I just think this is an important part. We're learning so much more about our cycle and what it means. And I think eating for our cycle is something that's kind of the next step. So watch this space and let me know if you found this interesting, and there will be more like this to come. So have a fantastic day, and I will see you all soon.